Do it. All right, we begin this hour with new allegations over race and diversity against the world-famous Juilliard School for Performing Arts. Famous graduates include Viola Davis, Jessica Chastain, and Robin Williams, among many others. The New York Conservatory is known for being highly selective, but now it's the school's culture that's facing scrutiny. CBS This Morning Saturday co-host Michelle Miller joins us. Michelle, good morning. What's this all about?
Well, we spoke to a Juilliard alum and a current student. Both were nervous about coming forward. They told us they were hurt by the school they were thrilled to get into. New York City's Juilliard School has long been considered the gold standard for a high-level education in the performing arts.
It was the culmination of over a decade of sacrifice and hard work.
But when playwright Lee Edward Colston II was accepted into the school's prestigious drama division in 2012, he says his joy quickly turned to concern over the school's relationship with race and diversity.
I can sum it up in a tale of two cities. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times.
Nearly a quarter of the students in the school's drama division are black, but Colston says the staff is lacking diversity.
If you have, a predominantly white faculty, that means there are cultural blind spots, right?
You do allege that a professor used the N-word.
Mm-hmm. There was a scene that was being worked on by my colleagues, that dealt with race. And this faculty member chose to use this word to try to provoke something. I don't think there is a space where white people can guarantee that they can use a racial slur and not guarantee harmful impact.
Because it hurt.
Yeah.
In a statement, Juilliard said, "We do not tolerate discrimination or harassment in our community, and the drama division has rehearsal guidelines that prohibit the use of the N-word with the exception of an actor speaking a line." Did it surprise you this happened at Juilliard?
It broke my heart. It broke my heart in a way that I never expected from a school that I did cartwheels in front of when I got in.
Current Juilliard student Marion Gray. What hit you in the face was this one particular workshop.
Yes, I call it Slavery Saturday.
Gray says her class was asked to pretend they were slaves as a guest speaker played audio of whips, rain, and racial slurs.
It's not okay when you're listening to whipping soundscapes and white men selling you on an auction block. Those are things that still live in my mind.
This was a workshop taught by an African American.
Mm-hmm.
I would presume this was an attempt by the school to give some sort of understanding of what it's like to be in the place and mind of African Americans in this country. And you can't get past that without delving into the original trauma.
Who created it doesn't matter, because it was allowed to happen and then it was not handled or addressed in an adequate manner.
In a statement to CBS News, Juilliard called the workshop a mistake and said they regret that the workshop caused pain for students, though Gray maintains the school's response was inadequate. Juilliard says they provided support to our students, faculty, and staff. Colston believes Juilliard's issues are partially rooted in the school's curriculum, which he says is driven by what one teacher called, quote, the classics.
There is a multitude of ways, to explore classics, right? And who gets to decide what a classic is? What's a classic for you and what's a classic for me may not be the same thing.
He's not the only Juilliard alum to voice this concern. In 2017, actor Viola Davis described feeling left out while attending Juilliard in the early 90s.
I felt like it was a constant squeezing and trying to fit a square peg into a round hole.
I think it's unconscious bias, and which we all have, because Juilliard and other institutions, are run by predominantly white faculty. Their unconscious bias significantly impacts people of color.
Colston says he was nervous to speak out about the school he loves, but found it necessary.
Some of my faculty are some of the most just generous, beautiful human beings, that I've ever met. However, I also love my alma mater enough to tell it the truth about when it's making mistakes.
Juilliard declined CBS News' request for an on-camera interview. A Juilliard spokesperson told us they have put a number of initiatives in place in recent years to address race at the school. Earlier this week, Juilliard announced that the teacher who used the N-word in class is retiring at the end of the school year. Marion Gray still plans to finish her MFA at Juilliard. And I have to tell you, John, you were the first person I thought of when I went out to do this story. We've talked about these issues before, but not at Juilliard. Did you deal with this?
Well, the thing about it is everybody who is black and is in high arts deals with this. Because what's understood to be the standard, the classics, what's understood as the repertoire is rooted in a culture that not many of the folks who are going to Juilliard more and more, they come from a different culture. So it's just a part of the greater cultural reckoning that we're all facing in every sector of society. And what needs to happen is an expansion of what's considered to be classic, what's considered to be high art.
Howard University is dealing with this very issue. They cut their classics program because they said a new classics needs to be determined.
That's what I thought. Mr. Colston made a good point where he said, who decides what the classics are? Was that when were you at Juilliard? When were you there?
Well, I started in 2004 and graduated from the master's program in 2011. So I spent a great deal of time there. I started when I was 17.
Wow. Did you have any of those experiences that they're talking about?
I had great experiences. I didn't have as many egregious experiences as that, but I can see how that could happen because of the ecosystem of the high art world. There's so many great black geniuses, people of color, women who throughout history we've been reluctant to recognize their genius.
Well, that's the reckoning you're talking about that's going on in all the arts right now, is a sense, a retroactive attempt to be inclusive. Which till now they have not been.
And it sounds like Juilliard wants to get it right.
Yes, and I think they will. Damien, my mentor, Wynton Marsalis, all of these great people are there. I just think that there are pockets that's, we still need to get in there.
All right, let the conversation continue. Michelle, thank you. Good to see you in person.